Oh, okay. We're here to talk about the inyan of Lashon Hara. The inyan of Lashon Hara. And I'm talking to myself. I know we heard this topic our whole lives, not to talk Lashon Hara. But if the right time to talk about this topic, the correct time is achshav. Right now I'm doing the 3 weeks. Doing the 3 weeks to remind myself how bad Lashon Hara is and how good is a person who controls himself not to talk Lashon Hara. Recently, I spoke to a person in Lakewood who told me an unbelievable story that happened to him from not speaking Lashon Hara. And the other day, I had a zechut to speak on the radio in Eretz Yisrael, and they tell us one story. Do you want to say Lashon Hara? Do you know is gonna give like stun people, like shock them? I said over the story, and from that story, they told me that a few hundred people signed up to start learning Chafetz Chaim. Isn't it Siyata D'Shmaya? Unbelievable zechut, Baruch Hashem. Klal Yisrael is so special. They really want to get close to Hashem, and when they hear such stories, it wakes them up. This fellow, I know his name, but I can't say his name. He's in Lakewood. Around 10 years ago, his daughter, unfortunately, that was already, he told me what grade she was, 5th grade, 6th grade, she was around 10 years old. She, out of nowhere, she collapsed. She fainted. Itarfa. They right away rushed her to the hospital. Hatzala in Kimball Hospital in Lakewood told them that we have to fly her on a helicopter to Chop Hospital in Philadelphia. They take her to Philadelphia. The doctors are trying to figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, the daughter's in a coma. Daughter was in a coma. And then they checked her blood, and they realized that she has something in her blood. He told me the name, but when it comes to this stuff, I'm very bad at to remember. But he told me exactly the name in her blood that went to her vessels in her brain. And unfortunately, now she was in a coma. She was in a coma for a couple of weeks. He tells me, one time when he was driving on Lakewood, he left Philadelphia, he's driving on Route 9 in Lakewood. He calls someone on the phone, and he had a real yetzara to say Lashon Hara against someone. He had like a good line, like a good juicy Lashon Hara that he wanted to take the pain off his chest. He said he was going through a hard time at the time. You can't judge such a person. So he wanted to let it out. So he had something to say negative about somebody else while he was talking to one of his friends on the phone. But he said he controlled himself not to say that Lashon Hara. And he said it was hard for him. But he controlled himself not to say the Lashon Hara. Then he hung up the phone. He told me after he hung up the phone, he had a little chutzpah. And he turned up to Shemaim and he told Hashem, B'schut, that I was careful and I closed my peh, my mouth, not to talk Lashon Hara. Please open up the peh, the mouth of my daughter in Philly Hospital. B'schut, that I kept my mouth quiet not to speak negative about another Yehudi, no Lashon Hara. Open up the mouth of my daughter that's sitting in a coma in Philadelphia Hospital. He tells me around 15 minutes later, his wife, Abotai, if you want, I could give you the guy's number and his name. He lives in Lakewood. His wife calls him on, 15 minutes later. Hysterical. Our daughter started crying. She started tearing. And tearing is the sign that they're getting up from the coma. Rushed to the hospital right away. Rushed to Philly. He said that he flew to Philly and the doctors were all around his daughter. And they're telling him how this is an open miracle. Within 24 hours, it looks like she's going to start talking. And that's what happened. Open miracle. His daughter woke up from the coma. This story was said over in Lakewood from Rabbi Cheskel Ben Asher, a rabbi in Lakewood. As he's saying over the story like this over here, suddenly somebody from the crowd raises their hand and they say, Rabbi, I'm the girl. I'm the girl. It's unbelievable. Open miracle happened to this girl. Why? One time. This is unbelievable. One time. I'm not talking Lashon Hara. And really the Gaon Mevina writes something very interesting. The Gaon Mevina writes the Gra, one of the main commentators that we have. He writes that if a person controls himself pa'am achat, one time, not to talk Lashon Hara, en malachei hasharet, the angels in Shamayim, yicholim l'sha'er, can fathom the all and the schar, the light and reward that individual gets for not speaking Lashon Hara, pa'am achat, one time. Listen to those words. One time not talking Lashon Hara, the angels in Shemaim can fathom the reward and light this fellow is getting for not talking Lashon Hara one time. We need to take those words serious. That's a tremendous thing. How many opportunities a day do we have not to talk Lashon Hara? How many times does Hashem give us a chance to get so much reward? To get so much oil, so much light to bring to the world? You know, the Chafetz Chaim writes, if Klal Yisrael is going through a hard time like we are right now, unfortunately, hopefully it'll be over soon, only good news. But when Klal Yisrael goes through a hard time, he writes, the first thing a person should take upon himself is not to talk Lashon Hara. To take upon himself the idea of not talking negative of one another. Why? Because when Klal Yisrael is be'achdut, when Klal Yisrael is together, and they complement each other, and they only have good words to say to each other, then the Shekhinah is there. Then the Shekhinah of Hashem, the presence of Hashem is there a lot. But once there is machloket, once there's negative talking about one another, and Lashon Hara is out of control, that's when Hashem, letzarenu, unfortunately says, I'm out. I'm out. And he brings the raya, he brings the proof. In the times of Achav, the king Achav, who was not a good individual, although some say he was chozeh b'teshuvah at the end, he repented at the end. But Achav was, if you read the Nevi'im, he was not a good king. He did avodah zarah, he was machtit harabim, he made all the people do sins. But when he went to wars, he won. He was a Jewish king of Eretz Yisrael. When they went to wars, they won. David HaMelech, on the other hand, is tremendous. David HaMelech. When he went to wars, the success rate wasn't as much as Achav. Say Chazal, say the Rabbanim, how could it be? How could it be that Achav was a Rasha, goes into wars, he wins? David HaMelech was the Tzaddik, he goes into wars, does not win as much. How could it be? So the Chafetz Chaim says something tremendous. Achav, although he was a Rasha, the soldier, Klal Yisrael in the nation, had Achdut. They had togetherness, they had each other's backs. They did not speak negative about one another. They were careful with that. But in David HaMelech's time, that kufa, that generation, specifically that generation, it looks like Lashon Hara was too rapid, too much bad talking one another. So even when they went to wars, even though they knew Torah, but because they spoke Lashon Hara, Shekhinah is out, they lost the wars. That's a tremendous, tremendous thing. From here we learn the secret, the hatzlacha to bracha, to blessings, to hatzlacha in life, to bring shefa, to bring the Shekhinah inside. The more a person controls their Lashon Hara, the more beracha they're going to have in their life. The mashal that Ramchal gives to this, a parable. He says, let's say midday, the sun is beaming. The sun is beaming inside the house. A person decides, I'm going to go close the window shades. So now the sun is not beaming inside. Does that mean that the sun stopped beaming outside? No, it just means you're in your house. You decided to close the shades, so now the sun is not coming in. Says the Ramchal, Hashem in Shamayim always is beaming beracha. He's always beaming shefa, health, good news, parnasah, everything is beaming beracha, beracha, shefa. But sometimes a person, without noticing, can close the window shade. They can close the tzinol, the pipe of beracha, that Hashem is trying to shower on the person. And what closes the pipe, chas v'shalom? What closes the window shades that the light can't come in? When a person's mouth is full of Lashon Hara. That's an unbelievable thing. So Hashem is there trying to shower a person with beracha, but because a person speaks Lashon Hara, everything stops. The beracha unfortunately stops coming. So if a person wants beracha, if a person wants health, shalom bayit, bezrat Hashem, nachat from children, says the Chafetz Chaim, one of the first things you do is take upon yourself, try not to speak Lashon Hara, especially now during the 3 weeks of the Bet HaMikdash. The Bet HaMikdash was destroyed because of sinat chinam, because of negative talking, which basically means Lashon Hara. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he left the palace, he was a young boy, he left the palace, and then he sees two Jews fighting, Datan and Aviram. They were fighting, they were about to hit each other. Moshe Rabbeinu says, hey, what's going on? A Jew is fighting with a Jew. Yehudi marbitz liyehudi, a Jew is going to hit a Jew. What's going on over here? What did Dasan and Aviram, Datan and Aviram, what did they tell Moshe Rabbeinu? Mi samcha shofet, who put you as a minister? Who put you as the judge? Who do you think you are telling us what to do? When Moshe Rabbeinu heard that, what did he say? Achen noda davar. Now I know why Klal Yisrael, the Jews, are still in exile in Egypt. Now I know why they're in exile. Moshe Rabbeinu was always thinking, why is Klal Yisrael in Mitzrayim? Why is Klal Yisrael right now in exile? But after he saw Datan and Aviram talking to him like that, and then telling him, we're going to snitch on you, we're going to speak Lashon Hara against you, Moshe Rabbeinu, to Paro, when he heard that they're talking Lashon Hara, he said, now I know why the Jews are still in exile, because of Lashon Hara. Now, Rabbatai, let's try to think about that for a second. We're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. Imagine somebody needs a Yeshua, and he goes to, let's say Chacham Ovadia was alive, and he asks Chacham Ovadia, I'm in such and such situation. Can you help me out? What should I do? Chacham Ovadia gives them an answer, exactly what to do. Then he goes to the Ben Ish Chai. Ben Ish Chai, holiest of the holy, Kadosh Kadoshim. Goes to the Ben Ish Chai, tells the Ben Ish Chai, what should I do? Help me. Ben Ish Chai tells him the same exact thing the Chacham Ovadia told him. biggest tzaddikim say the same act. Then he goes to the Chafetz Chaim. Chafetz Chaim, help me, I'm in such a situation, what should I do? And then Chafetz Chaim tells him the same advice that Chacham Ovadia told him, and the Ben Ish Chai. All three of the biggest tzaddikim tell him the same thing. How anxious or how mitragesh, should I say mitragesh in English? Excited would a person be that the three biggest tzaddikim are telling him the same exact thing? He will know that it's 100% true and this is exactly what needs to be done. Over here, Rabotai, we have Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, our greatest leader we ever had, we ever will have. He's the greatest of all Nevi'im. Moshe Rabbeinu is screaming. Why is Klal Yisrael in Galut? Why is Klal Yisrael in exile? Because of Lashon Hara. Moshe Rabbeinu is screaming. If Moshe Rabbeinu is screaming, then how serious does it have to be taken? Lashon Hara is such a problem that Moshe Rabbeinu is screaming. That's why we're in exile. And if Moshe Rabbeinu says it, it's a serious thing. But then the Midrash goes on. Rav Huna says that Klal Yisrael did not speak Lashon Hara for 12 months. That's what the Midrash says. And B'schut, and merit of not speaking Lashon Hara for 12 months, there was Zocheh to have the Geulah, to have the redemption. That's an unbelievable Midrash, which means they spoke Lashon Hara before in Egypt. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu said. They speak Lashon Hara. They're speaking negative. But once they stop for 12 months, in honor of that year of not speaking Lashon Hara, there was Zocheh to leave Mitzrayim. So Rabotai, unfortunately, after what we witnessed on October 7th, very, 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 very scary and sad situation. And unfortunately, what we're going through right now as a nation, unfortunately, it's scary times. It's scary times. What is a person's avodah? What is a person's job? The Chachamim guided us. You want to do something? You want to take something upon yourself for the Jewish nation? Lashon Hara. Lashon Hara. Reducing the amount of speaking Lashon Hara.